This is the Arch Shavah 7, IsraelNationalNews.com, right? Really a political website, but they have teachings about the Torah portions as well. Let me drop down to a part of their commentary where they talk about the Mishkan. Give me a moment here. Here we go. Their website says, quote, the Torah portion of Truma, again, that's the Torah portion where you find Exodus chapter 25. The Torah portion of Truma offers the remedy. And let them make me a sanctuary that I may dwell within them. Exodus 25:8. Let them make me a sanctuary that I may dwell within them. The point I'm trying to highlight is that he's talking about dwelling within them. At least this translation does. They go on to say, if they will build a sanctuary for God and his purpose, then God will dwell amongst them and within them. Could it be truly that simple? The simple building of a sanctuary is the key to have God's presence and impact living amongst them and within them? So, what's my point of bringing up these 4 resources that I did, talking about dwelling among them, dwelling within them, dwelling within them? What's the point of bringing these Jewish sources? Is to show you that the discussion about God dwelling within a person, as opposed to merely dwelling within a building only, is not entirely a Christian concept. It's something that the Judaisms down through history have been struggling with and wrestling with and discussing. How can it be that God can dwell within us? Of course, we know that the fullness of this truth comes to be when we accept Messiah and God truly does dwell within us. And to that, now we can turn to our second passage out of these 3, right? The second one, which is Colossians 1:27, where Paul says, let me drop down to it most emphatically, to them, speaking of the Gentiles who are being brought into this relationship with God through Messiah, to them God chose to make known how great among the Gentiles, he's talking about the saints, the Jewish people who are now believers in God, but in reference to the Gentiles. So he says, to them God chose to make known how great among the Gentiles are the riches of his glory of this mystery. You ready for it? Which is Christ in you, the hope of glory. Christ in you. Notice how different this would sound if it simply said Christ among you. Christ among you. The Greek down here says Christos in human elpistes doxes. And the word I would just want to highlight for you is that simple Greek preposition en, en. Same one that Paul used over here. There, en, right? I will make my dwelling in them, not merely among them, but in them. Paul uses that same Greek phrase, Christos en human, Christ in you. So, individually speaking, Paul is now challenging and letting us know that, yes, God can dwell in you, but it's in the person of Christ. But notice, from a Trinitarian discussion, it's Christ in us, not just God who's in us, right? We are the temple of the living God. But if Christ is dwelling in us, aren't we in fact the temple of Christ as well? Paul's going to say absolutely. And so that's the mystery of Trinity, is that Christ is in us, but it's God in us. And then I had the Exodus passage pulled up for us, which is out of order. I suppose it should have been way over here. Sorry about that. The Exodus 25:8. Let them make me a sanctuary that I may dwell among them, right? But now let's turn to the final passage where we talk about the Spirit, and we'll close our study down with this. John 14:17. Every believer knows that it's the Spirit dwelling within us, not just among us, but personally within us. Let's see how John describes this for us. John 14:17. Let me drop down. Let me actually start in verse 16. Yeshua says, and I will ask the Father, and he will give you another helper to be with you forever. This is a triadic passage because we got Father and Son and Holy Spirit. I being the Son, Father being the Father, and Helper being the Holy Spirit. It's a triadic passage. And then it's with that in verse 17 that Yeshua says, even the Spirit of truth, he's this parakleton, or parakletos, or paraclete, is what most pastors say. He is this helper. That's what the Greek word paraclete, root word, is. Even the Spirit of truth, whom the world cannot receive because it neither sees him nor knows him. Listen to this last phrase. Yeshua says, you know him. Why? for he dwells with you and will be in you. We come full circle with this idea that God is not just dwelling with us, right? Recall Exodus chapter 25, verse 8, and recall dwelling in us, right? What Paul said in Colossians. John lets us know that the Holy Spirit dwells with us, which in the Greek word is going to be the word par, right here, and in us, which is the Greek word en. So, hati par human mene kai in human estai, this last phrase in the Greek there. The Holy Spirit dwells with us, right, par human, and with us. He dwells with us and in us, And this "en" is the same Greek root word there, en, same word we found over here to describe Christ dwelling in us. Same word that Paul used here where it talks about God. So in all three cases, God dwelling in us, en, Greek word. Christ dwelling in us, Greek word, en. And Holy Spirit dwelling in us, but also dwelling with us, par, which brings us full circle back to the Exodus passage where let them make me a sanctuary and I may dwell among them. God does dwell among us, but not just among us. God dwells within us. And with that, we'll close down the study on the Shema, discussions on the issues of Trinity.